2 of the Christian Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Kennedy Llewellyn, and today I'm joined with a very special guest. He's a thrower for the University of Alabama, a student athlete advisory committee representative, and he's a 2021 Illinois State discus champ. Please welcome Barry Evans.
Do you think you could just give me a brief testimony of, your journey with God and where you are now?
Journey with God. So start from the beginning. I've known Christ my whole life. I grew up in the church. My uncle's a pastor. Grandmother's a treasurer of her church. Mom's a Sunday school teacher. And me and my dad used to work on production at my old church. So I've always known Christ. I'm also a military child, so I moved around quite a bit. I say quite a bit. I've only lived in 3 places, which seems like a lot to some people, but I've known people that have been to like 5 different high schools. So we ended up moving to the St. Louis area when I was around 5, and that's where we stayed, and that's where my dad's from. So we were going to my dad's church for a little while, and then or my grandma's church, and it actually ended up burning down on Christmas Day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that had happened. And so then we were trying to find a church home, like bouncing around over on the Illinois side of St. Louis. And in like trying to find that church home, we ended up in this one church, and they're trying to highlight like accomplishments of some of the kids at the church. And so they're showing off like their track medals. And that's how we found track. Or that's how I found out about track and field. And so that was the only time we went to the church. And I say it's a coincidence, but I also have the saying that like coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. And so with that, track eventually became a blessing, but originally it was a curse for me, because obviously like as an athlete, like all athletes know, your sport becomes your life. And in elementary school, that's cool. Middle school is cool. Like if you ask anybody who went to middle school with me, and if you ask them like, what do you know about Barry? They'll say, oh, he's good at track, which at the time was fine with me. Like, at the time, like you feel like you're him because I could throw a disc pretty far, I get to high school, freshman, sophomore year. I just wasn't happy. Like I wasn't, when you put your faith or like your identity in an earthly thing, such as like track and field or in your sport, we all know sports has like its highs and lows. So when you're doing good, you feel like you're the man, like nobody can talk to you, you're them. Then when you do bad, you're like, nobody talk to me because I'm like worthless. I don't even deserve life. Basically, that's what you do if your sport is who you are. And so eventually like it got low and it stayed low. And I was in a pretty bad place mentally because I put my identity in my sport. But during that whole time, I was still going to church, still involved in my church. And there's this constant theme of like, what is your purpose? And like with me finding track through the church, I always knew like God like gave me track for a reason. I knew that was a God-given gift for me to be able to sling a discus. And so when they would talk about like your gift, I was like, I can sling this disc, but I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna grow the kingdom, because that's really what it's all about. Like your gifts are like there to grow the kingdom. Like, yeah, you can do this, but what do I do with it? And then COVID happened, and in that I saw it as God taking track away from me. Now I knew, like I said, I knew God, but I wasn't as deep as I am now. So at the time I was like, oh, this is God just giving me extra time to, get better at track. And then during that like isolation, you start to think. So I was just thinking about like how good God has been to me over the years. At the time I was 17. So 17 years of just blessings and all great things God has brought me through. I have a 100% survival rate on everything I went through. And then also you start to think about like the negative things that you've been like to God. So I realized I've been like disobedient to God. I wasn't putting God first, and how even though I wasn't serving God as much as I should, I said I was a believer, but if you ask somebody, was Barry a believer, they'd be like, he believes in his ability to throw a distance, but that's about it. So that's when I really started like diving my faith, was during quarantine. Uh, then restrictions started to get lifted. Went into my senior year of track. Was signed to Alabama. I won state. That was all cool. And came to Alabama, and uh, I call myself like a bedside Baptist. I wasn't going to church on Sundays, but I was watching it from my bed. I was watching it from my bed
Mhm.
uh, on Sundays. But one thing I got involved in was with FCA. I made it a plan to go to FCA every Wednesday. That's when we meet at Alabama, and that's like discipline that I learned growing up, like with my dad, who made sure we was at church every Sunday. And so I started to do that, but then come to the end of my first semester, I realized like I need to be in the presence of the Lord more. So I started going to church. Went to a physical church on Sundays. I had to be in the house of the Lord. But not only that, we have a college service here down in Alabama on Thursday nights. So I made sure Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, I'm in the church. And then with that, that's when I really started to like grow exponentially. And over the summer, I was working with my church's high school ministry, and in that, that's where I really, really saw growth as a person, as a leader, as a man of God. And then come this past fall, I was struggling with my calling again, because what I've learned recently, that like, yes, I can throw a rock pretty far, but with that comes influence, and that's where I believe is my calling with the Lord. Is I have because of the position I am in, I have the influence to spread the gospel and grow the kingdom. And so recently, I've been struggling with like, now who specifically like am I here to influence? Is it like high schoolers, like youth ministry, or is it like athletes or college athletes or athletes in general? So I struggled with that recently until this December. The head of FCA was like, "Hey, I really want you to be like more hands on with us at FCA," and that's where we're at now. Is uh, I was able to start working with FCA at the university, and now I'm here on this podcast about college athletes or Christian athletes. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically my whole Christ story, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious, did you I know someone sent in the group me the signing up for the third chair?
Yeah, third chair, yes.
Yeah. Did you sign up?
So funny story. Um, they started that last semester, and at the time, I was working with the high school ministry here at the church. I go to Church of the Highlands in Alabama. If you're from Alabama, you know that church. And so they sent that out last semester, and I did not sign up to be in the third chair because I was like, I'm too busy. Somehow, I still ended up being in the third chair, which I guess for those listening who don't know, uh, RFCA has four chairs, and the third chair is somebody who is like committed to Christ and wants to do like one-on-one Bible study, one-on-one discipleship, who wants to learn more. And then the fourth chair is someone who's teaching someone in the third chair. And so I did not sign up. Still ended up being a part of it. Didn't want to do it at first, if I'm being honest, but then eventually started doing it, and we had a decent semester. And now this semester, I'm in the fourth chair. I'm doing one-on-one discipleship with some teammates of mine. So yeah.
That's really good. Man, I
So,
love that whole story. That's yeah. I definitely relate to the identity, kind of like I call it an identity crisis. But
yeah,
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 no, yeah. I mean, when you were saying like, people go up to you and the first thing they talk about is track, like that definitely happened with me.
yeah.
I swear I'd be walking in the hallways and someone would be like, "How's track?" And I'm like, "I don't get a hi or how are you? Just straight track."
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's going all right. But yeah.
That's one thing I had to talk to my teammates about, is like, when you place your identity in track, they only care about you for what you do on the track, or for me in the ring. And so it's like with Christ, with the Lord, he doesn't care about that. Like for me, you'll have a good meet, good game, whatever. You get all this praise. You mess up, you do bad one time. They're like, he was never that guy. he's bad, he's not a good athlete, say all these negative things. And that's why I tell people to put their identity in Christ, because with God, I messed up so many times, and God is still like, hey, that's my son. I still claim him. But if you do bad in your sport and people only know you for your sport, you mess up one time. I wasn't really rocking with him like that. I wasn't even, yeah,
Yeah, for
they
sure.
backtrack all that support they had. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. God never changes. I really do love that about him,
yeah,
I mean, when I was talking to Kat on our first episode, she mentioned how, or we kind of both mentioned how, like, however you perform, it doesn't really dictate or determine, like,
yeah,
how God treats you the next day. Like, his
exactly.
love
Yeah.
is never changing. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's really good. I mean, I feel like I can go on and on about just like identity and just,
Hmm.
I mean, it really goes for anything in life, whether you're like a singer, actor, whatever. Like, your identity was never, it was never supposed to be found in what you did. It's always found in God, because
Yeah,
He created us,
exactly.
we're made in His image. So yeah, that's really good. Another thing you mentioned that stuck out to me was discipline, and just thinking about going to church, the days that it happens. So like Thursday, Wednesday, Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I really feel like, I was kind of thinking, I was like, that really plays into like, how do I like glorify God in my sport and stuff? And
Hmm.
your sport, both having a relationship with God and being your sport requires discipline.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
really can see like how you would almost, well, yeah, glorify God in like your sport and your relationship with Him. And that really, like, people see that,
Hmm.
especially as an athlete. Like, they see when you're working hard, you're staying consistent, you're, constantly on the track or on the field. And like that shows up. And then you give your praise to the Lord. Oh yeah.
Hmm.
People are gonna notice that. People are gonna see a
Yeah.
difference, They're gonna
Yeah.
see that not only are you getting better at it, but you're like training yourself, and like you just, I don't know, I feel like you just,
Yeah. You're gonna
I,
see it. Definitely, like, you don't, a lot of athletes struggling with talking without doing the actions, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm putting in the work," but then come game time, you see they wasn't putting in the work. And it's the same thing with your faith. I can go online and talk about, "Oh, I'm getting closer to God. I'm getting closer to God." But if I'm truly walking with the Lord, showing up in my word, praising Him, doing worship, you're gonna see like your fruits grow, because we're called to be lights of this world. Closer I get to God, the brighter my light's gonna shine. So,
for sure.
you know,
And it definitely flows into like your teammates too,
yeah,
because I remember my coach freshman year, they were always talking about like having a positive attitude, trying to
mhm,
stay light about things in the workout and stuff.
yeah,
Cause that if you got a poor attitude and you got a hard workout and you're just out there, just being negative, like that bleeds into other people. So
yeah,
allowing God to just kind of like strengthen you and allow you to see the light in those hard workouts and those hard days, it really definitely lightens the mood. So
yeah.
yeah, that's
The
really
Bible definitely
good.
calls on us to have joy during the suffering. So,
For
in the
sure.
weight room, I have a lot of joy, we can say. So, yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. That is definitely needed in this dark
yeah,
world.
yeah, man,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really good. I was also thinking about just another note on just like glorifying God and just what that looks like in our sport.
Sorry,
There you
it's
go.
not my office, by the way. This is my church aunt right here.
We're
I don't know
doing
if
a
you're gonna cut that
podcast.
out. Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna cut that out. But
No, I'm
yeah,
keeping it. T's in the podcast now.
all right, bet you're in the podcast. I just can't hear you. Yeah,
Oh,
she has the biggest smile. Like, it's actually ear to ear. She didn't know it was a podcast. I just told her I was borrowing her room. She didn't know.
okay.
She didn't know what was going on. So yeah,
Yeah, I think I told her about it too, so she knows. She knows where to find this video when it's
yeah,
ready.
yeah.
But yeah, back to what I was saying. So yeah, I was kind of thinking about like glorifying God in our sport and kind of what that looks like, because I know my
Hmm.
freshman year I kind of struggled with that. I would always, because during that time I was just like, I'm like, how do I run around in circles and let that glorify you? I don't see the connection.
Yeah.
And so I remember God pointed this verse out to me, basically it's like, your work is not for men, it's for God,
Yeah.
do any
Mhm.
like, goodness gracious, y'all. I know the Bible. I'm trying to think of the verse and I really cannot think of it, but it's like, do all
Be
that
like
you,
that sometimes.
yeah, basically just like work your hardest, whatever you're called to do, just work hard at it, do the best that you can and give God the glory. And when I
Mhm.
find the verse, I'll put it in the description link, because yeah. But it really made me think of Sydney McLaughlin and just like how far she's come, like
Mhm.
watching her run her first prelims for the Olympics, or
Mhm.
qualifying for the Olympics, like, and she was like 16 years old, and then
Yeah.
her watching her race now and just seeing her growth through like God and just like her sport and how she's able to combine the two. I think it's amazing. It really was an inspiration for me my freshman year. I was like, dang, I want to be like that. Like, I want to be able to,
Mhm.
not only break records and be the fastest person on the track, but also give God all the glory and allow him to like work through me. So
Mhm.
yeah, I definitely was thinking about her. But was there anyone like in the pros that you look up to who yeah, look up to?
Faith wise,
Yeah, faith wise.
I can't I can't say there is. I think there's that saying that, we should strive to be like Christ, and I really think that's
For sure.
what it was there wasn't no there was no athlete in my upbringing where I was like, yeah, I want to be like them where I do my sport. And because like for the longest for me, like I said, my sport and Christ were they didn't go hand in hand. So it wasn't like if I wanted sports inspiration, I'll go to the best person at sport. If I wanted like religious inspiration, I'll go to the person I knew who was the biggest believer. I never thought about like combining the two until
Hmm.
like recently. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And I mean, I feel like I could talk the best about Coach Kramer. You can only
Yeah,
talk good about him, but he does
yeah,
such
he's
a
a
great
good guy.
job. Yeah, he does such a great job of just like being able to combine the two. And I
Mhm,
really am grateful for what he does at FCA and his contribution
for
to the
sure.
athletics department and just what he does for his athletes, because he really does take care of them. And I really do
Yes.
admire that. And yeah, I mean, did you want to go into a little bit about him and your relationship with him and just FCA?
Coach Kramer, man. I might be here for a while talking about him, but
Oh, go ahead.
we so I met him through HES, which is our like
Freshman class.
yeah, it's a freshman
Yeah.
class for the athletes at the university. It's basically like college athletics 101, you could say. And
Hmm.
that's how I met him. And then so I didn't really know him like that. He was just cool professor that I realized he was a doctor. He goes by Coach Kramer, but he's a doctor, which I think doctor's more a cooler title than coach. But
Okay.
uh but no, so then Kat comes to our class and talks about FCA. So that's how I learned about FCA. And then once I started coming to FCA, that's how I got to know Coach Kramer a little bit more. He's just he's probably one of the most interesting people you'll ever meet. Uh, but no, he's just a great example of like what it means to be a man of God. And he recently told his story to us at FCA uh, of like coming to Christ and how he glorifies God, how he used to glorify God through his sport. And I looked at that and was like, yeah, that's what I need to like. As he was competing, he was spreading the gospel because they were like, man, how you so joyful all the time and all this stuff. And like he talked about uh, meeting with an opponent after their like match, like spreading the gospel, and that's something like you strive for. But coach, he's just a great example of how to be a man of God, but not only that, love others. Like
For sure.
there's not a negative bone in his body from what I've seen. Um, he gives everyone the same energy. He just has a love for everyone. Uh there's no favorites with him, Like I said, you want to be Christ like, and I think he's a great example of what it means. And like even for those who aren't as in depth, even for those athletes who aren't in depth with their faith, they still look at Coach Kramer as a figure to be like. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I swear, I remember being there one night, and I believe his wife was there also.
Hmm.
And I can't honestly, I got such bad memory, Barry. I'm so sorry. But I'm pretty sure someone in there might have honestly been his wife, but he was or she was saying like he prays for everyone like in
Hmm.
FCA like every single day. And I'm
Yeah,
just like, oh man, I love
it was
that.
his wife. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
definitely like honestly. I know how you earlier you asked me who was like my athletic inspiration on like being like a follower for Christ and an athlete. I didn't have one, but Coach Kramer is definitely. I guess Coach Kramer would be that for me because
Mm.
like in finding my calling, like I said, I'm using athletics as a platform to spread the gospel, but eventually I'm not going to be an athlete no more. I don't want to say eventually. One day I will not be an athlete no more, whether that's a few years or 20 years. But I definitely feel myself being called to ministry, but not like a pastor, but more of like something what Coach Kramer does. Coach Kramer, for me, has the dream job of being able to preach to a select group of people and walk the life of Christ and be that example of what it means to be a Christ follower.
So
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Wow. That is amazing. When did
yeah.
you like kind of discover like God wants you to go into like ministry?
Uh, I guess it wasn't brought to me first. I was talking to our youth pastor here at Highlands,
Hmm.
and I was saying something, and he was like, Barry, you're a youth pastor. I was like, hmm. I thought about it, prayed about it, and then you know, uh, the more I worked with like high school ministry, the more I worked with my teammates. I'm like, all right, I have something here. I just gotta figure out how I'm gonna put it together. Cause like I said, I'm definitely not called to be in the front of a church and like spreading the gospel to the masses, but I'm definitely here to pastor to a certain group of people. I just haven't found those people yet.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Wow. Would you stay here like once college ended and then like if you don't go on to professional sports like would you stay here to minister?
Look, if Coach Kramer's job opens up, I would definitely take that.
Yeah, cool, cool.
Yeah, no, I think I'm putting into existence. Live Atlanta, and obviously, it's Atlanta is a up and coming church, and I went to visit there this past December,
Mm.
and it's very small. Like it's and they're running their service out of a high school. I definitely feel myself called to go there and help bring that church up. Now, would I like to stay in Alabama? Like if I was like a uh, what's it called? Like a chaplain for the university for like the track team or the football team, any sports athletics,
Mhm.
that would be perfectly fine with me. But like as of now, where I see myself headed, definitely see myself like moving to Atlanta and helping grow that church. But again, I'm only 20. I still have another full year of school. Still got 4 years or 3 more years of eligibility after this year. So
Yeah.
who knows where God leads me to. But
Mm.
yeah, right now that's where my head is at.
Yeah, that's so cool. Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. That really is so cool. The stuff that God does when we're just obedient to him and just like
Yeah.
listening to him. I mean, he just moves and is just
Mhm.
always moving. Wow, that's amazing. How have your parents kind of like have they seen a shift since your high school, middle school years to now? Just like in your faith?
Uh, Faith-wise, no, because I guess they've always seen. So I'm the golden child. I'm the baby. I'm
Okay.
clearly the favorite. You can ask my brother and sister. I'm the favorite child. Um, but so I wouldn't say faith-wise they haven't seen a change. I guess they've always seen me as the kid who's like devoted to God. But obviously, again, they don't see the behind the scenes.
Right, yeah.
Only God sees it all. Uh, I don't know. So I told my story at FCA. I don't know if you were there for that, but I mentioned the earliest like recalling of me like giving my or having faith in God is I don't even remember. My grandma tells me the story all the time. Um, when I was in preschool, when I was living in Georgia, my cousin I love her, forgot to pick me up from pre-K or from daycare. So I had to walk from uh the daycare to my home.
Oh,
And I guess that whole walk I was crying the whole time. But
mm,
I guess I had a neighbor who was like watching me from a distance to make sure I was okay, but obviously
oh,
didn't want to like pick me up to like scare me. And I guess I got home that night, and at the time my dad was stationed in Iraq, and I would always say like my nightly prayers. And when I would say my nightly prayers, my mom would call my dad and like so he can hear me pray. And I prayed, God, thank you for watching over me even though I was scared. And my grandma brings that story up all the time. So I guess I've always been that kid who's always thanked God for watching over me no matter what period of time or what's going on in my life. So from what they've seen, like religiously, no, but definitely like who I am as a person. I definitely in high school, like I said, all I cared about was track. I was in my room most of the time. Like I wasn't that outgoing, wasn't didn't like talking to people that much. Actually, one of my family members who came into my life like around middle school and high school, he actually thought I was mute until until he heard me do an interview for track. So yeah.
oh.
So
That's
I've
funny.
definitely like breaking out my shell. I've definitely like there's a different type of glow to me, I guess you can say. Now that I've what's it called? Someone's knocking on the door. Yeah. There's definitely this is you need this. You're good. Do you need your bag too? You're good. This is going on the podcast, by the way. I hope you know. No, but
That's great.
yeah, there's definitely a different type of glow to me, and I've seen it like really this like past year. I really think 2023. Everyone says that, but I really think it's my year. Like I've grown so much closer to God. Like my prayer is better. I'm worshiping better, and like I've just like even this past month, we're not even 2 months into 2023, and like I'm just a completely different person. So yeah, so they haven't seen anything like change in my faith because they always thought I was that kid in his Bible and praying, but like they see me in a new light, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's really good too. I mean, to hear that story about you walking home from kindergarten crying,
yeah,
boy,
yeah,
I'd have been like, no, never coming back. No,
yeah.
but
Again, I don't even remember. I don't even know what was going through my mind. Again, I didn't remember know about that story till like I was a senior in high school. So yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Well, that's awesome. I mean, for your grandma to like constantly tell you that and just like let
yeah,
you know, like I think that's really sweet. And I think it's also amazing how like once you got home, you pray to God or like,
yeah,
thank you for keeping me safe. Like
yeah,
for you to even recognize that God was
mhm,
keeping you safe at that
mhm,
age, I mean, that's amazing to me.
yeah,
Um, just as a child that young, you don't normally like comprehend what's going on that well. Just yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
But I mean, and then for you to, grow up and then just get closer to God. I mean, he was being patient with you. He wasn't going to force you.
yeah,
And I think,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, thank God for his patience and, not
exactly,
like a
yeah.
forceful kind of love.
Hmm.
He's patient with us, man. And I'm
Yeah,
just so grateful for that,
he definitely works with us. He knows how like far we need to be pushed. Again, he's a creator, so he knows everything we need, how we need it, when we need it. Because there's a lot, like you said, it wasn't forced. There's a lot of blessings in our lives that don't come when we need them, quote unquote, need them, and that's because if he gives it to you right then and there, you're gonna end up messing it up. There's some development you need to do in your character, your physical state, your mental, emotional state, and so definitely God's timing is he may not come when you want it, but he will come when you need it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. We I saw that little thing pop up, said we got 10 minutes
Yeah,
left.
yeah,
Listen, we'll keep going as long as we can. We'll try to hold out this
yeah.
10
That's
minutes.
cool.
But you were also saying how, because you want to do ministry and that's where you feel
Hmm.
like God is calling you to go
Hmm.
and moving to Atlanta. I know that like, and if that doesn't happen, or not that if it doesn't happen, but if Coach Kramer's position opens up, you'd want to go in his position.
Yeah.
I know he does a lot of like traveling, and you said you're a
Hmm.
military kid, so
Yeah.
you'd be okay with that, right? Just all the traveling and just visiting.
For sure. I think so actually as a military child, I've never left the country. And so uh now I will tell you this, there's a lot of people that are called to mission trips I'm not one of those people,
Oh,
but I'm not opposed to it. So definitely, like, again, if that's where the Lord is telling me to go, I'll do it. Now, again, like I said, I have traveled my fair share growing up, so traveling is not as appealing to me now that I'm in
mm,
my 20s. But again, I wouldn't mind, being on the road, all that type of stuff, because I'm used to it. So it's not that big of an issue. It just doesn't excite me like it would some people. So yeah.
yeah. Man, that's so good. Gosh, I I mean, I've enjoyed you being on this podcast, so
Yeah, I've
I guess I
definitely
can go
enjoyed
ahead
it.
and yeah, I guess I can go
Yeah,
ahead and close it out because I really don't want to like. Oh wait, we got 7 minutes and
yeah,
28 seconds.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, your whole story is honestly amazing, and
Thank you.
I'm so mad because literally, remember last semester when Coach Kramer had us memorize all those Bible verses, and then he was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, y'all can go to Top Golf," and we were the only two people.
we were. Yes, we were. So actually, we weren't the only two people that remembered. I think there might have been two others who remembered that were also on track. Just so y'all know, track is the most. We have the strongest faith, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
couldn't make it. So yeah, but yeah.
No, yeah, I remember that. And
Mhm,
for some reason, like when I go to FCA, I normally only talk to like 2 or 3 people,
mhm,
like consistently.
yeah,
So I don't know why I didn't talk to you when I was there. I was
yeah,
like, because I knew you were on the track team, and I
mhm,
was like, oh, he probably doesn't recognize me. I don't want to, try to act
yeah,
just, I don't know. But I'm really happy you're on my podcast
yeah.
and we get to
Yeah,
talk
no,
now.
I'm glad to be here, and just like you said, talking to only 2 or 3 people at FCA, I was the same way, and that's another way I see myself grow. Is like I'm talking to a lot more people at FCA. I'm receiving favor along the athletic department, and I thank God for that. But no, it's been a blessing to be a part of this podcast. I can't wait till it's released to show all my family and to prove to my family members that I'm not mute. I can actually talk. Um, but no, definitely have me on the podcast whenever. Like, this has been great. We can go deeper into whatever your heart desires or whatever the Lord has us speak through. But yeah, definitely, this has been fun for sure.
Well, I'm glad. Well, it was so nice speaking to you,
Yes.
and hopefully, I will see you on Wednesday. I don't think I have anything going on Wednesday, so
Look,
yes,
I'll be
yes.
there. I'll tell you that. I'll be there.
All
I'll be
right.
there. I'll be at Highlands on Thursday,
Period.
and
Period.
obviously I'll be on Highlands on Sunday because I've been here since 9:45 and it's 4:32. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I went to the 9:45 service too, but then I
yeah,
left after that. Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah.
All right,
Well,
I got a question for you. One last question for you.
yeah,
You got Eagles or Chiefs?
I'm gonna have to go with the Eagles.
All right, roll
Listen,
Eagles. Roll
yeah, roll
Eagles.
Eagles. Exactly, exactly. I have to support Jalen Hurts, and Devontae.
Yes, and
Come on.
Landon Dickerson and Josh Jobe. Don't forget them too. Yes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Too
But
bad
yeah,
this is gonna be released after the Super Bowl, isn't it?
most likely, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we're gonna see if our predictions hold up. Hopefully they do.
All right, cool. All
All right.
right, well, it was nice talking to you,
All
Barry.
right. It was nice talking to you. Thank you for having me again.
Like always, I'm excited for you guys to continue to hear some amazing stories from some amazing individuals. And to follow up with the verse that I was trying to tell y'all about, it came from Colossians chapter 3, verse 23, which says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord and not for men." If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new episodes from the Christian Athlete Podcast. If you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any new updates. Can't wait for next time. See ya!